Hello! Imagine living your life without any stress. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Well, I don't have to imagine. For the last few years, I've been living without almost any stress. Sometimes stress would come, but I would remove it quickly because I can figure it out why it came. Stress does not come from a stressful job or a stressful task or a stressful exam or some other stressful situation. Actually, there is no such thing as stressful job or a stressful situation. This is a delusion. Stress comes from your head. It comes from expectations you are creating or holding on to expectations others have about you. This was probably the most important lesson I learned in life. The lesson of suffering and how to stop it. So stress is just a form of suffering, and all suffering comes from your head. It's all about the unfulfilled expectations that we cannot let go. Or in other words, you cannot accept things how they are going, how you want them to be. So you dislike them, you resist them, and this resistance is creating suffering. Ask yourself this, what use do you have from disliking something? I don't see anything useful in disliking, so that's why I constantly avoid disliking anything. So stress comes from your head. And this is actually great news, because if it's only in your head, that would mean that you can have complete power over it. You can take control and stop it if you want to. If you really want to live without stress, that there is a path. This path, however, requires a constant day effort. You cannot just realize why stress comes and then the problem of it is solved. As I said, the problem is expectations we are creating. It's not so simple to stop creating expectations because we are doing it every day, our whole lives. And you're not even aware of all the expectations you have. To understand them and identify them one by one, I think the best way is to start from your feelings. So when you get that uncomfortable feeling of stress, you should stop and ask yourself why it came. Were you thinking about something you need to do, or you were about to do something? And from those answers you can formulate an expectation. For example, you're at your workplace and your boss gives you a task to do. Sometimes the task is simple and you do it without any problem and stress does not come. Some other time you get a new task. Now stress may come because you don't know how it will go and you want to be successful. So here is your first problem. You don't want to fail. Your expectation is, I want to succeed, and another is, I don't want to fail. Why don't you want to fail? Because your boss might not like that. If you were doing the same thing at your home for yourself, maybe you would not feel the pressure of success. Maybe you will be okay to fail as long as you succeed in the end. So because of this, you might think that your boss is giving you stress. No, you are giving yourself stress because of the expectation that you don't want to fail. Your boss may not even care how you come to your results, but still you can be stressed because of those expectations you are creating. But of course, many bosses would want you to succeed as fast as possible, and in the first attempt, many of them say so. So they create these expectation and you take it from them. So you don't have to hold on to their expectation because that is unreasonable. Isn't it unrealistic to expect no failure at every new task, and to be as fast as your boss expects. When I see that my boss has those expectations, I think to myself, that's your problem, not mine. What I am focusing on is to learning how to do a task they gave me. Maybe I don't understand something. Maybe they didn't give me enough information, which happens very often at work. So I need to think about the answers. I need to think about the questions I need to ask to get the answers I need, to get the information I need. So I ask my boss those questions, or my colleagues, or search for the internet for those answers. Or I do the task without those answers. And while doing it, or I would say while experimenting and failing, I would gather new information through my first-hand experience. And many times I would find the answers I needed for success. And other times I would find questions I need to ask to get the information. So another expectation common at workplace is to do a certain task within a time limit. To do something in an hour, or by the end of the day, or by the end of some date. Your boss is usually deciding this, and you don't have to feel pressure because of this. You just have to focus on your work. Focus on what you're doing, so there's less chance that you'll make a mistake. And don't think about when you need to finish this. If you are repeating the thought, I need to finish today, you're just strengthening these expectations, and you're building fresh pressure for yourself and creating stress. Instead, just focus on doing things in the present moment. All expectations are about the future, and thinking too much about the future is distracting you and creating stress. So do your best at a reasonable speed, because the speed is often monitored and discussed at work. And this is a reasonable practice when the expectation of speed is reasonable. What I often see at work that is not reasonable is expecting a certain kind of speed when doing something new. When I'm doing something new, I will almost always do it slowly. I want to work slowly so I can observe what I'm doing, so I can learn how to do things properly, to observe the process and to understand it better, and to think about how to improve it. So you build up speed, you gain speed later while repeating that new task. So while you are listening to me, you might think, how can I do anything without an expectation to succeed? You would be correct. For everything that we do, we expect to finish it. So for every plan, you need an expectation. So first you create an expectation, you plan what needs to be done, and then you drop the expectation. You don't need it anymore. You have to be free from it, because situation may change, and then your expectations become unrealistic. This is important because then you will also be free from stress of uncertainty. And if you are free from uncertainty, that would mean that you are ready to always adapt and improvise, which is a very useful skill to have in life. Another common place for expectations are at competitions. There's always uncertainty in competitions. In a competition, you think about the tactics and strategies you want to use. You prepare, you plan ahead. And when a competition starts, you have to drop the expectations. Stop thinking about the results or about winning and focus on what you need to do. Do what you were preparing to do, and for every step of the way, try to do as best as you can at that time, in that present moment. And if you're doing it like this, you can compete without any stress, and your results would certainly be better. The last thing to remember is when you have completed something, there was never the end of the world. Even if there were problems, they were dealt with, and work goes on, life goes on. In the end, everything is fine, so why create stress? That's all. Thank you for listening. If you thought this video was interesting and useful, share it with someone. And remember, if you fully focus on what you do, you don't have time for stress.